please welcome the Crack Podcast Live.
Welcome to this live episode of the Crack Podcast. My name is Jack O'Brien. I'm the editor-in-chief of Cracked. And joining me on stage over there, we have the head of Cracked Video. He won't find out until the end of the show that he was secretly dead the whole time. Please welcome Daniel O'Brien. To my right, the star and writer of many a Cracked Video, my occasional co-host, Whoopi Goldberg lets him use her body to make love to Demi Moore, which is weird because he's not even a ghost. Please welcome Mr. Michael Swayze.
I knew I had the option, but I haven't availed myself of it yet.
And joining us for the first time, he's a very funny comedian and artist who made an amazing graphic novel about 17 different possible afterlife scenarios called After You Die. Is that correct? He doesn't realize his whole life is a computer simulation we're all a part of, so everybody be cool. Please welcome Ramin Nazer. Yeah, so we brought you to this comedy show to talk about death, specifically the afterlife, from a number of different perspectives. I'm going to ask everybody to design their own afterlife. You can use a specific pop culture afterlife, like you can do the painting Harry Potter afterlife if you're unoriginal. You can do a mixture. You could be like, I really want the Ghostbusters afterlife because I want to live in the afterlife with the same clothes that I died in.
There's so many better options for that.
Right. But then when I'm in the trap,
I'm
in the trap, I want it to be the afterlife from Heaven is for Real, the book about the kid coming back.
But if you've seen the real Ghostbusters cartoon show, we go into the trap in an episode, and it is explicitly unpleasant. You don't want to be in the ghost trap.
You are the master of your own afterlife here.
Also, Jack, I hate to do this, but
worst afterlife.
If you followed up on Heaven is for Real, that kid's a liar.
No, the other kid's the liar.
All kids are liars.
There's two of them. We're going to ask what the worst movie afterlife is. I think we might have just talked about it. Movie that secretly takes place in the afterlife. We're going to talk about a Harvard study that found that the more a population believes in hell, the more prosperous their economy is. That's basically it. It's just a cool fact that I just said. Do you want to start with designing your perfect afterlife or talking about the worst pop culture afterlife?
I'll design my perfect afterlife to get this train a-rolling. I am for the singularity happening. If you make a robot that can make a robot that's better than the robot you made, robots are like, done. They're gods, instantly. And I'm an optimist, so I choose to believe that they'll be like, do you want to become a robot? Rather than just crush us. Like if the skulls were getting crushed by the, T-100s marching through the streets, I'd be like, that looks pretty dope. Can I join you guys?
To whom do you think you're appealing? Do you think one of the robots would be like, okay?
Yeah, exactly. Well, because they're clearly designed...
I've told you this before. You have an incredibly stompable skull. Like if I'm a robot and I see that baby, I'm like, oh.
If I had a nickel for every time I've heard that, my friend. But yeah, because the benefit of being in a robot body, and not just a robot body, like if it's possible to become a digital consciousness, and I personally believe it is because of all the evidence that everything that I am is just like the firing of electrical impulses, then if that can be like on a floppy disk, I'm done, I'm set, I'm immortal. I get to see everything that happens in the history of mankind. I can change bodies whenever, only into robot bodies, admittedly. Or I can be in the matrix of my own creation, and just like, basically I'm pitching I want to do Second Life. Way better, when it's much better than it is now.
That was elaborate and well rendered. Thank you, Michael.
We are out of time.
I have two pop culture touchstones that are similar, and I'm going to roll them into one, with one as being more obscure, but it's my preference, and then I'll get to the more accessible one. Hi, I'm Daniel. This is what I'm like. There's a book by Simon Rich who's fantastic, and it's called What in God's Name, and it takes place in heaven, and heaven is very much like this office. Like you just get jobs, and you sit there, and there are people who, like the angels there are people who monitor this person is, they have asked for this miracle. Let me see how I can accomplish that using just the natural world. Like, they never want God's presence to be felt. That's the rule. So it's just like, how can I make these people fall in love? All right, I can send a gust of wind there that blows that piece of paper that gets this person over, that bumps them into that person, and then they fall in love, hopefully. Just these miracles that you're trying to accomplish and never be seen, which is a very neat way to think about how, if you want to subscribe to the idea that there's another deity, it's a neat way to conceive of the way they operate.
But why? Why would God be Amelie? Like,
Well,
why
well,
would
here's the-
God not
here-
be like,
here's the
I'm
other-
God, hello?
Here's the other reason that I like this world so much is that when we meet God in this world, he's there's like a head angel who's like, God, there's an earthquake that's happening in Somalia right now. We really need you to do something about this. And he's like, hold on. God, it's really important. Hold on. And he's watching TV, and it's a football player who's like, I just won the Super Bowl. I want to thank my family, and I couldn't have done this without God. And God is like, did you hear that? And that's a really, like, I like that idea of God, because if you believe in a God that is perfect, you can't help but be sad, because bad things happen. We know this. But if I believe in a God whose, like, best album was his first, which was Making the Earth, and then he's just sort of like, can I just be done now? Like, that's fine. Like, I accept that as like, yeah, we're equals.
And most world religions take as their first tenet that the God super cares that you worship them, even though they're omnipotent and omniscient. The whole deal is to worship them. So clearly, this is the kind of guy I'd be like, did you see Tim Tebow thank me the other day?
He did that, Neil. That's for me.
And he would be saying that around the water cooler to people who are like, we're just extensions of you. We know. You formed us to humble brag at us. Why, God?
But I also like that because I have been working since I was 15 years old steadily. I got my full-time job at 21, and I've been doing the exact same job ever since. I'm a worker. It's what I do, and I like the idea of heaven that, like, oh no, I died in that some kind of sex boat party thing. And then I go to heaven, and they're like, your office is over there. I'm like, great! Like, I just want to keep working. And if I can, the thought for a long time was I'm going to work myself until I'm dead, and now I can, and then some. I could just keep doing it. I just like having tasks and like accomplishing things and solving puzzles. So the more accessible version that I like is it's less task-driven, but Beetlejuice is a similar one where you die, and thank you. You die, and you can go through this bureaucratic afterlife stuff, but in general, like, I don't know, like, if I'm Gina Davis and Alec Baldwin who die in that movie, and then like, oh, what happens now? Well, you get to still hang out in your house on Earth. You can talk to people now, and you can interact with them, and you don't have to work or worry about bills. You're immortal now. It's the same deal. You're living the exact same house, but you never get hungry, and you never have any problems anymore. That seems like a fine, like...
You have to love your f***ing house, because you're stuck, man. Like, going out the front door is sandworms and crazy shit. Tremors, I think.
Graboids, they're called.
Oh, sorry.
Also, what gives them the ability in Beetlejuice to come back to the real world? Do they have unfinished business? Is it that old guy? Or like, is everyone who's dead still in their house hanging out?
I don't think everyone who's dead, because there's that whole waiting room where you're allowed to process and move on to the afterlife.
To some place, random
and
place.
they're just like, no, we met this girl, so we're gonna like help her study, and then like throw magic dance parties with dead football players.
Those two characters, I've instantly realized, are the most like uncurious, boring people ever to.
Right.
They died, and someone's like, I mean, if you wait in line for like an hour, you will get to know eternal paradise or whatever's next. The great mystery, as someone said. Yeah. And they're like, we're gonna hang at our house. There's this sad girl there.
So we have Robot God, Work God, Incompetent God. Do you
I
have
was all excited after Robot God, and now I'm a little bit down from Home God. But maybe if I was in your body experiencing Home God, then it'll be good, which is something that I want to do in my version of it. I think I'm opting for, like, the Fiona Apple version. I just want to feel everything. And I don't really care where it comes from. If robots do it and Kurzweil is right and he gets to go see his father again, because it seems like it's all just because he really wants to see his dad, which I love my dad, but I don't think I could even build a shitty computer to try to see my dad again. Like, I would give up after just trying to make 2 transistors. Mate, is that what they do?
Yeah, that's how it works.
But really, so I'm for the robot future, because what it implies is absolute freedom, absolute control, and unlimited time. Because if you get your quantum computers thing, which is it's operating under Moore's law, which you all of course know that the computers are doubling in speed every 2 years. So that means in 2037 or 2040, if Trump doesn't take over and blow everything up, then, assuming things are going to go at this rate or some other rate, it's going to be absolute freedom and control. So you can eat donuts all day, you can have orgasms all day, and eventually evolve out of entropy into love, such as your hat.
But that's also a problem because I wonder about at the apex of technology, like, as an arbitrary example, if it gets to a point where you can take a pill that fires all the neuroreceptors that make you feel like you're really satisfied and you saw a great movie, is that the end of filmmaking? Do we just, and is there anything really wrong with a world where everyone lives their whole life in like a pod and they're perfectly happy and fine? Is that dystopian, or
No.
or are we just afraid of?
We're afraid of it.
We're afraid of change.
We're afraid we're going to
You're a
be the
red
fat
pill
people
type.
from WALL-E, but we could be really in shape people that also get to run around and also not have to hang out with WALL-E and the dirt planet.
Oh yeah, no,
We
but
could
when the WALL-E
simulate our own
ship
dirt
landed, as I said,
Earth? I'm sorry?
Yeah.
I think I've said this before, maybe not on record, but if I was on the WALL-E ship, and we landed, I'd be like, I'm fat, like I can't dig and build stuff. I'm going back on the ship. I would just live in the rusted out hull of the
Right.
ship.
If you notice, the end of the movie only had like 12 people actually digging, so most people were probably like smart. Like
Jeff
you.
Garland's character would come out and be like, "This little robot's gonna teach us how to plant." It's like, no, I read books about plants. It's bullshit. It's boring. I'm gonna stay here.
But does that even count as an afterlife? Like I said, it might be a cheating answer that you're like, well, I want to be immortal as a computer.
Well, it would be the end of this life, right? Or I
Yeah.
mean,
I
guess,
think what most people fear is facing the dissolving of your identity, right?
Right. Which happens to me every night when I go to sleep. I don't know how it works for you guys, but
There's
old
this book
version of-
called Imagining 11 Dimensions by Rob Bryanton or Brianton, and he talks about each dimension up. It's a slice of the loaf of time. We're in this slice of
Right.
now, and then the other slice of
Oh,
now.
of course,
and this-
Hawking's time loaf. We're all
Yeah.
familiar.
I'm going with the Afterlife in Bones the Crossroads video. You just follow that dude around. He's got wings and he's really impressive looking. And Eazy-E is there.
There's a chunk of our very specific audience that was like, Bones, David Boreanaz? Yeah?
No clue.
That's an Afterlife show?
Such a timely reference. All right, so let's go worst Afterlife, worst pop culture Afterlife.
Pop culture specifically? I got some real shade to throw at the ancient Babylonians, my friend.
No, fine. Let's have at it.
But I could go. Well, I'm not going to go first this time because I'm being a dick. But someone might go.
I do feel like, and this might be cheating because there's a very clear heaven and hell that we can't see in Ghost, the movie Ghost. So you could argue that the real afterlife is heaven or hell, like once you complete your thing, and then it's allegedly very great or very bad. But the one that we spend the most time with is the thing that literally happens after life, so that's what I'm going to talk about. And we've got Patrick Swayze who's like, I've got an agenda, I've got to find my wife's killer, and I got to get rid of him,
Swayze.
and like, thank you very much. I'm Patrick Swayze, oh my God. Is that to me, Mark? Yeah, it's me. And so he goes to be with her and avenge his murder. And the main other ghost that we know is Vincent.
The guy who looks like Stephen Wright?
Yeah, the guy who looks like
Yeah.
Stephen Wright. He's just hanging out in a subway. Like, he wasn't going to do anything until Patrick was like, don't you... Like, I'm going to avenge my murder. Aren't you interested in that? No, I just hang out on the subway and give other ghosts a hard time. How boring must that be if that's like, yeah, this is my life now?
I have the same problem with that as I have with Jack Frost or anything where love is so powerful that you come back to life to fulfill your love. Because that either means that these two people have a love connection that no one else has ever experienced. Or like you can't. That's the only real love. It like God bowed to it and was like, death? I guess not. Love must transcend. Or there would just constantly be people taking the forms of objects and being like, I'm still into you, girl. Like, don't go. Let's make a vase, something.
I'm worried for our millennial audience that we talked about Ghost and Jack Frost.
Oh, Jesus. I was
has
going to
anyone
bring up
seen a movie?
Groundhog Day.
All right.
That's a classic.
Good one. That's a good one.
I guess Groundhog Day is not that pleasant of a... There's the theory that, Groundhog Day with Bill Murray and not Julia Louis-Dreyfus.
Andy McDowell.
El
No,
Midibba.
not at
yeah.
all.
Yeah, so that one takes place in purgatory, and he has to keep repeating the same day over and over again until he fixes it. But what horrible things do you think he did that they didn't show?
What would you do?
One?
You would go purge a couple times just to see what that's like.
There's also
Yeah.
something that the movie doesn't address. It's because he lives the same day every single day until he does the perfect day.
Yeah.
And then once he does the perfect day, everyone remembers everything that happened and they continue. So based on that, we have to assume that every previous day he lives, these aren't just figments of his imagination. They are, for the purposes of this day, alive and real. So day 3 of him trying to ice sculpture, and he accidentally slides it into his leg and cuts it open and just like bleeds to death on Groundhog Day. All of these people are very like really experiencing this. There are a lot of people who's in all of these days where like he's had a cranky day. He's ruined the days of everyone in this town who had to watch like, yeah, some weatherman took our groundhog and drove off a cliff. What happens now?
We do have that one shot where Chris Elliott like sees his dead body and he's like Jesus or something.
Which means the pocket timelines persist after
Yeah,
his
they
death
keep
until
going, yeah.
midnight. Yeah.
or he's just like lying there being dead the whole time, which sucks. That's dedication to killing yourself.
But there was an attempt online once to add up all the time that he lived, and this is what's creepy about that, and equally creepy about any vampire thing, especially Twilight. It doesn't matter what you look like physically. If your brain has lived 10,000 years of history, it's creepy that you're with a 17-year-old girl.
Cracked is the one who will do the estimate, how many days do we think he was actually alive, and we'll do all this math and we'll work really hard and we'll come up with 40 years or 10,000 years, whatever it is, and we play by our rules of logic that we think are honoring the movie rules. And then Harold Ramis came out and was like, what? No, it's 3. And then we just have to accept that
3
because
years.
he's God of this movie universe.
Yeah.
I think the worst afterlife is the Lion King. Because when he explains the circle of life, it's just basically you become energy for lions and then get shit out. That's what the circle of life is. It's just because it's from his perspective, it like sounds great, but it's like, yeah, we still get eaten. Like
Right.
there's no,
And I love
you
that-
get to go become a storm cloud.
Right, that's the part
Great.
that gets left out. There's like, oh, the antelopes eat the grass and then they die, they become grass. That's the circle of life. And Simba didn't go, even us, Dad? No, we're lions. I become a cloud god and I tell you what to do when you're lost. We're not antelopes or grass, those losers.
But I also love the idea of an antelope having that talk with their kid, and they're like, one day, my child, you will be tackled and eviscerated while you're alive. But other unrelated antelope will eat grass that is in a small, intangible way connected to the death of our oppressors.
Right.
It's the circle of life. But Ghostbusters is the only one where when you die, you might look like how you died, Beetlejuice style, or just be a green booger, or be a Muppet version of the person you were in life. And you sometimes exude slime and sometimes don't, and the humans literally fucking hate you and have a war, like a genocide against you. Which, how are these humans so short-sighted to find out proof that the afterlife exists and be like, let's take them out? They're like, oh, this is what will one day happen to all of us when we die. Let's get them.
I'm really curious what happens. What's the in between? Because we've established that there's no ghosts who are like, I'm dead. Oh, but I'm still around.
No, they're all very clear on the deal.
I'm gonna like
Yeah.
just hang out. I'm gonna like watch stuff. I've never been to Europe. Let's go. Let's walk across the ocean. Something happened after they died. Someone whispers like, it's all the Matrix. Just go nuts. And that's why every single ghost is fucking crazy. They all
they're
want to
such
terrorize.
spazzes, yeah. Why does Shia LaBeouf in Transformers go to robot heaven?
I don't think those movies are written very well, Jack.
Oh, okay. How about you, Michael? What's your worst pop culture afterlife?
I chose the pop culture touchstone of ancient Babylon and their rich mythology.
My favorite movie.
I'm going to mention two cultural ones that are just very interesting to me. First of all, the Mayan religion, just a single point of it, which was that it's believed now that there was a sport called Pacatak, which the captain of the winning team would be killed, and his spirit supposedly was immediately like in heaven with God, like the best situation possible. So it would be like if after the Super Bowl we like drowned them all, and we're like, "Good job, guys! You're with God now.
I've got to feel like the reason those games were going on for 3 days is because people are like, oh no, you scored on us. You're so good at this game.
They're just like, you guys want to go out of 21, actually? I know I said 15. Let's keep this going. And then in Babylonian mythology, their envisioning of afterlife was literally intended satirically, which is an amazing concept to me, to be like, oh yeah, we believe in God. And that's the official religion of your country.
You know, our hell is, or our conception of hell that a lot of Americans believe in, if you do bad things, you burn forever. And that apparently was like not a idea that, like, it took people a long time to get to that. Like, before people were like, yeah, but then there's like a game of tic-tac-toe, and then you have to like make it through this physical challenge, and that's only level 1. And so like, why would you behave well? Like what?
Oh yeah, it's
like,
Calvin ball for like 4,000
right.
years.
Yeah.
And the Egyptians are the ultimate. Like, they got to the point where you're physically being buried with, like, point-and-click adventure-style items that they hope will be useful
Right.
when you face the challenges in the afterlife. You're like, oh, it's getting dark. Throw a Leatherman multi-tool in here. You never know.
Right.
They've asked a bunch of questions over the years of what people think heaven will be like, who believe firmly in heaven. And it's pretty interesting. Like, only 4% believe there will be sex in heaven. And then in what way is it heaven? I don't understand.
Yeah. I'm going to say, wow, interesting poll. 96% of people are liars.
Yeah, exactly.
Maybe they're just cutting straight to the orgasm part and they don't want to mess with all the mechanics.
Another thing I think's super telling is, or about American spirit especially, is at every time since they started doing this poll, way more people are sure that they personally will get into heaven versus the proportion number of people they think will get into heaven in the world. So they're like, how many people get into heaven? You're like, oh, it's ritzy. I don't know, like 14%. Are you going? Oh, I'm great. I'm good. Of course I'm going.
It would be such a bummer if it's like Casper rules, where it's early 90s Devon Sawa, a hunk as far as those standards go, and then he dies and becomes this like legless, wienerless, bald white blob that just floats around and was like, no, this is not representative of the thing I had going before.
Dwayne the Blob Johnson is not going to cut it. Yeah.
Let's move on to movies that secretly take place in the afterlife.
This is a bummer. It's the Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer movie to me is like fully like.
You mean the cute stop motion one?
Yes, that
Oh.
one. His like he's born with this
Don't
deformity.
judge.
His family abandons him, and like Santa Claus, who might as well be God, and that is like, no, I have no use for you, little one.
Yeah.
And then he goes on a journey.
Nah.
He gets kicked out of that town. He dies of hypothermia. Everything that we see is just like him, like, wouldn't it be great if I came back and saved the day and my nose was the thing that everyone loved? And then Clarice loved me. And then the abominable snowman was good too. It's just too wrapped up neatly in a bow, hashtag Christmas joke, for it to be anything other than like his like gasping, dying wish.
Yeah.
We're making him stand too long, aren't we? Or are we supposed to get to
No,
that?
no,
No,
we've got-
this is a power play.
That is not
Oh,
your place to say.
Oh, yeah. Oh, crap, this is your podcast.
So,
Let's get started.
Hi, I'm Graham.
Hi, Graham.
Hi, Graham.
So, in terms of fictional afterlives, that would be kind of rad. Any comic book universe afterlife, because you may die, but you're not going to stay dead. I mean, you're obviously going to come back, and you'll probably be stronger, unless you're like Batman's parents, in which case you'll just be motivation for him to be cool.
I do want like one issue where his parents show up and they're like, no, we were in the hospital. Didn't Alfred tell you? And he's like, ugh. Oh, okay, yeah, all right, never mind then. What do you guys want to... Let's catch you up on movies, I guess.
Hi, my name's Angela, and I think one of the worst afterlife situations in pop culture would be Lost, if that is the afterlife. Maybe that's up to debate, but if that's purgatory, that seems super, super terrible, that you would die, be stuck with the people that you died with, and then also there's monsters and you have to survive.
I'm so sorry. I have to, in the spirit of
You
this
have to be
episode,
Cody Johnson.
let the spirit of Cody Johnson take over me and tell
You're gonna
everyone
be
what
so
did
exhausted
happen.
after.
Everything that happened on the island happened. Everything that happened on the mainland happened. The only thing that was purgatory was the sideways universe and the church stuff at the end. Those are the things, and the reason they exist is because you didn't just form it with the people that you died with. You formed this world with all the people who were the most important to you in the world. That's why Jack is there with Kate and with his son in some weird, like, piano recital world.
Piano recital world?
Also, we
awful.
do know what
I'm
kind of
with
heaven
Angela.
it is. A man
Angela's
named
not.
Christian Shepherd ushers them through golden archways. It's not like the heaven of the Quran, you know what I mean?
Hello, I'm Richard.
Hey,
Hi,
Richard.
Richard.
My best afterlife, you mentioned Casper, the 1990 movie Casper earlier. I'd say that because it seems like as long as you have some minor form of unfinished business, you become a cartoon character and you can turn into things and you're immortal.
You do, yeah. They can possess people and there are no consequences, and like no one has the actual power to exercise them. Like they even bring in Father Sarducci, and he comes in and he's like, "No, I can't do it. The ghosts are too strong." And the ghosts are like the strongest thing in the world, and it's clear that Stinky, Fatso, and Help Me Out Stretch.
Yeah, Stretch.
Yeah, they have no interest in leaving, so they're just gonna keep hanging out forever.
There's no way that those three guys died and were exactly like that. I like that God has a sense of like comedic symmetry, where he's like, if you're all gonna be amorphous blobs, you need identifying fit. You wear a bow tie and you're tall, we call you Stretch. I was a surgeon, sir. My name was Alphonse. It's Stretch, you're tall.
Hey, I'm James.
Hey,
Hi,
James.
James.
You're a last guest.
Oh man.
Make it.
Yeah, the room is
James.
empty, isn't it? Yeah. So there was this show. I don't know if anybody saw it. I think it was a canceled pilot called Babylon Fields. It came out in about 2007 or so.
Zombie show.
Zombie show, but it was a weird zombie show in that just one day everyone who's ever died just kind of wakes up and goes back to their lives as if nothing happened.
Do they rot? Like, are they gray
They're
like zombies?
like
Yeah, they're-
Or are they
and
rejuvenated?
they're fully zombies, and like the idea of a zombie cop, real cop procedural is a fine enough idea, but just to give you some context of sort of the bar that this show was hitting, there was like a B plot in the first episode about a zombie who was like, you know, I'm a zombie, but like I've got a boner all the time now. I don't know what to do about it.
And it's
it
a
was
drama
canceled.
procedural, right?
And it was canceled after one episode.
So he's like, you need to find my murderer. Like, why? Like, everything's fine now. You're alive.
Are
Like,
you still
what?
mad about that?
Years
Look,
later,
nothing
however
can
long.
bring you back to... Wait, I'm talking to you. Never mind.
Yeah, like.
Confront your
The
murderer.
smell.
You killed me. Yeah, well, you turned out fine. I don't know.
Do they all still have to eat brains, or is that like an ignorant thing to say about
I don't
zombies?
know if they
That's straight up racist.
All right. I think that's all the
That's
time we
all
have,
I got.
guys. Thank you guys so much for coming out. Thanks, everybody who participated. Thanks.